Well, hello everybody, Jeff here from the Learn Portrait Drawing channel, and in this video we are going to begin by drawing this portrait you see right here. If you've never been to this channel before, we do all kinds of instructional videos and narration, and we walk you through exactly how we draw certain pictures. So this video is going to be part one of a three-part series where we start with a blank piece of paper and we finish off with this right here. Now in this particular video, I think it's one of the most important parts of any portrait drawing, and that is starting it. Sitting down, nothing but a blank piece of paper, and figuring out how do we lay it out, how do we get started, what to draw and where to draw and why to draw what we're drawing. All these questions we're going to try and answer in this video. So hopefully by the end of this video you'll feel more confident knowing how to start a picture that you want to draw and moving forward with that. So, before I continue, before we start drawing, I just want to say thank you once again for watching, for liking the videos, leaving me comments, and of course, you know the deal. If you haven't already, just hit that subscribe button. Really means a lot to me, and it'll let you know when I come out with all these new videos in the future. So with that being said, let's begin by start drawing this one right here. Okay everybody, here we go. So as usual, if you've never seen my videos before, I'm going to walk you through everything I did to start creating this portrait. That way, if you're a beginner and you just want to see one of the ways that you can start drawing, this might help you. Now this isn't by any means the only way. You can draw anything however you want. This is just what I did on this drawing. So what I did is, since his head is very distinct, almost like an oval or egg shape, I wanted to just start with that on the paper. And all I'm doing here, I'm not trying to draw his head. All I'm doing is trying to see, does this fit where I want it to on the picture? So I'm just trying to gauge the overall size. I'm just trying to see if I need to make it bigger or smaller, if I need to move it to the left or the right. So I'm just looking at like the overall shape. Just think of like the overall outline of a picture. You know, there's no measuring here. This is just us trying to see, you know, is this about where we want it to be? It's the composition stage. We're composing the picture, laying it out, and I think this is about right. So in other words, I think this is about the size that I want the head to be. So now what I want to do is I'm trying to figure out where the features are going to go. So I'm going to guess right here is about where the hair is going to be, the hairline. And when it, you know, comes down this way. And then I'm going to want to also figure out where the eyebrows are going to be. So we know it's it's not in the middle, it's above the middle of the face. So I'm just going to guess. I know this one comes over about this way, near the center of the face. And then this is kind of, the head's slightly tilted, so I'm just drawing this angle just to give me an idea, sort of a visual representation of where, you know, the side of the face is. And here's kind of where the eyes are going to be on this plane. If you want to know the tools I'm using, there's a link in the description for the tools. This particular drawing utensil that I'm using right now is Vine charcoal, and it's a soft charcoal, and I'm usually use it at this stage because it's easy to erase. So since I'm kind of just mapping out features here, I like to be able to easily erase it so I can make changes. And you'll see me occasionally use my finger to kind of erase a mark. So just like this right there. So we're trying to figure out the nose. And this is all guessing. It's all freehand. It's all guessing. But we're using our eyes to train us, to let us know if something feels right or wrong. So I'm asking myself, does the, nose feel like it's about that size? Do the eyes feel like they go about right in this area here? So notice we're not drawing any features. we're just kind of putting in little dark scribble lines here and there just to put something down, and our brain will start to fill in the information. Our hearts will tell us if it feels right or feels wrong. So see, it doesn't look like the person, but it's starting to feel like, okay, that's probably the width of his nose. His nose feels like it's about right there on that oval shape. And so I'm looking at his mustache here and kind of just drawing in this dark sort of semicircle shape. Looking at how close it might come to this side of the face. And I'm asking myself, how far down does the mouth go compared to where the chin is? So I'm thinking about the upper lip right here, and then the bottom lip. I'm just going to draw a line to represent the bottom lip. And I already see I'm a little too close to the chin, so I'm going to have to adjust the chin a little bit, which is why I use my finger to erase it. And see, I'll use my finger like this just to blend in sort of a big value, like a big shape here. It doesn't have to be exact. I'm not trying to draw a mouth. I'm actually trying to draw like just a placeholder where the mouth is going to go. So imagine that you squint your eyes and you make the picture blurry. That's kind of what I'm doing at this stage. I'm squinting my eyes a lot, making a big blurry picture, and just trying to draw in where this blurry mouth is going to go. And so I'm thinking maybe about in here, and then I'm looking at where, since that's where the mouth is, kind of estimating where the chin is going to go. And I'm just going to guess it's about this. Notice there's a lot of guessing at this stage. When you draw like this, when this is sort of my style of drawing that I like to do, there's not a lot of, there's basically no measuring. It's just a lot of guessing, using our eyes and our hearts to tell us if something feels like it's right, and just making constant adjustments. You know, in a lot of my videos, I say I'm always making mistakes. I have to correct mistakes. But it's really not mistakes. It's just a series of adjustments. We're constantly putting lines down and then adjusting. Lines down and adjusting. So I should probably just change the way I speak and don't call anything a mistake. It's just, we're just putting down lines and then we make adjustments. So you could see on this side of the face it's all sort of in shadow, so I'm slowly adding some shadow in here just to let myself know, you know, just to sort of lay out the drawing. And you can see it doesn't look like him, but it's starting to look proportionate. It's starting to look like the features are showing up in their correct spot. So now that we got the drawing right here, we got the composition down, we're liking the size, we're zooming in now and we're going to slowly start adding a little more of the features. So I put away the vine charcoal and now I brought out my number 4 pencil. This is harder to erase, so I like to use this when I want to start putting down lines that are going to be more fixed in place. So I'm just marking the top of the drawing, marking here where the eyebrows are, just slowly marking areas of the picture as landmarks. Now again, if you look at that left eyebrow, it looks a little low. It looks like it needs to come up a bit. That's something we'll correct as we go along. Right now, it's not that big a deal to me. I'm just now starting to look at where the shadows are going to be. So I'm squinting my eyes, and I can see right in here in this concavity of the eye socket. This is all dark in here. You could see on the picture, this part's all dark. So I'm just using my pencil. I'm slowly starting to mark the dark areas. Locking in here the side of the nose and this side over here. Again, using my pencil because those marks are going to be harder to erase, so they're kind of locking in the nose right there. That way if I accidentally smudge it, I don't lose those marks. And now I'll slowly start to work on this eye. This is sort of like the rough draft phase. So I'm looking at this upper eyelid and I'm comparing it, the distance between the eyebrow and this eyelid. I'm looking at this distance right here. And I'm trying to mimic that as best as possible. Again, not measuring, just using our eyes. Using our eyes to tell us, does this look about the right distance? And I don't know if it's correct. We're just taking our best guess and we make other corrections as we go along. Remember, these kinds of these charcoal portraits take about 3 hours to do. And this is only documenting, this video here is only documenting the very first, 40 minutes or so. So it's okay not to try and get everything so detailed and so perfect at this stage. Don't get so fixated on every single line right now. We're just laying down a rough draft. So I'm looking at the shape of the eyes, and then I'm looking at the pupil inside here. How big to make it. Looking at the whites of the eyes, these little triangles that it forms. And I'm using that information to tell me how big to make the eye. Now I'm thinking I made this a little bit small. The eye looks a little bit small to me. So we might have to fix this. Sometimes you don't know if something's too small until you kind of move on to different parts, but I'm checking right here just to see, because see, I'm thinking this looks a little bit too small. Needs to come out a little bit more. So I'm shaving in the face just a little bit here, double checking the size, and yeah, we might have to change this. So before we do that, let's kind of just look at the nose a little bit. I see the shadow kind of forms this ball of the nose here. You can see how it curls up onto the bridge of the nose, which I really liked about this picture. I like that you can see the definition of his nose. You can see the plane changes, and that's going to help us when we start doing these shadows. So over here on this side, this is all in shadow. We can see that on the picture. And let's kind of do the same thing. Let's look at the eyelid and compare that to the eyebrow and do our best to mimic this eye shape. So I'm just trying to draw the bigger eye shape, the top of the eye, the bottom of the eye. And now that I'm doing that, that's where I can see this eye looks way too small. So we went ahead and erased it so we can make it a little bit bigger. Now's the time to make these changes. And when you draw in this kind of style, get used to erasing. Get used to not beating yourself up over anything. Because it's okay to make corrections. It's okay to erase. So see here, I just kind of drew like a big outline of where the eye is going to go. Put in the eyelid, kind of figure the whole eye is going to fit in this box. And then I'll just fill it in from there. So that might be a technique you might want to try. Don't try and draw every single line. Draw the outside shape and then kind of fill inside that shape like we're doing here. We're putting the eye inside this box. And yeah, we might have made it a little bit too big, But that's okay. You're going to see as we go on, we're going to slowly correct those little tiny changes like that. And I actually think, even though it looks a little weird right now, it actually looks a little bit better than the small eye that we had. I'm just going to kind of lighten it a little bit. And remember, it's important to remind yourself at this stage, this is the rough draft stage. We're just laying in features now. We're just trying to make sure everything looks like it's in the right spots. You don't have to spend all your time on one tiny little area. You'll see here, I mean, we're putting in an eye, but we're really not going to make it realistic at this stage. And that's a mistake that a lot of beginners will make, is you'll just fixate so much on one little area. You put so much time into it that later on, if you find that you have to erase it, you end up having to erase so much of your time and effort. What I like about this style of drawing is I don't really spend that much time on any one piece. I kind of jump around, kind of work on the picture as a whole. You get a little more freedom that way. And you could see the eye is really a rough draft eye. Of course, these lines are all way too dark, so it looks like he has eyeliner on. But I'm not pressing that hard, so it's easy to lighten these lines. I'm mainly just drawing these lines so my brain and my eyes can see if I'm, putting them in the right spots. So again, this is all a number 4 pencil still, a number 4 charcoal pencil. Again, the link for these pencils that I got off Amazon, it's in my description. So if you want to, some people ask me what do I use, and that would be something you want to check out. Another question someone had for me, this is totally off the subject, but they asked me, speaking of eyes, is, what do I use to draw eyelashes? Eyelashes, I use a number 2 charcoal pencil. I use the number 2 when I want to get into the fine details. Right now we're using mainly the number 4. I use the number 4 at this stage, this sort of rough draft stage. The number 4 I use to, block everything out. Right here I'm kind of putting some light shading in where I can see how he's got these lines that kind of extend between the eyes and the nose. Right here on the side of the face where it's dark. All this is a number 4 pencil. And that's just a softer charcoal. It's going to be easier for me to blend. That we're going to start blending on the next video. But this video, we're just laying down the rough lines. We're laying down where the shadows are going to be. I'm not blending now. This is just all blocking in shadows, blocking in the features. But anyway, back to what I was saying. So I used the number 4 for pretty much this whole drawing is number 4 pencil. And then when we get into the finer details, what we start to do in the next video, we'll go to a harder pencil, the number 2. It's harder, so therefore it makes thinner lines. And that's what I use for eyelashes. That's what I use for the very small areas of the eyes. I'll use a number 2. Sometimes if I want to get little tiny creases of like the mouth and the lips, I'll use the number 2. And then I'll use a number 6 pencil for like the hair, or for where I got big areas of shadow that I want. I'll use a number 6. So anyway, back to this drawing. Here's the side of the face right here. So I'm just kind of laying this in so we don't lose it. Comes down pretty close to the mouth. And because that's where the side of the face is, I can feel pretty confident slowly, like right here, putting in where this mustache is going to go. Looking at how close that mustache comes to the side of the face, and we see it comes very close. So see, we use everything now to base other things off of. Because I drew the side of the face right there, I know I can bring the mustache right out to the side. You can see I'm looking at where the mustache comes to the eyes. It comes to about the middle of the eye. If you draw a line straight down, you can kind of see that's where the mustache comes out to. So that's where I'm putting it there. Again, look how rough this drawing is. Very rough, no blending. Eyes look like they have eyeshadow. But at this stage, I'm just trying to lay out these features. Sort of lock in where the mouth is going to go. So here we are trying to figure out how big the upper lip is going to be and the shape. So I'm just drawing a line straight across, trying to keep in mind how the mouth is, you know, sort of a cylinder shape. Looking at this angle for the bottom lip, so that's where the darker shadow is. Kind of looks like Eddie Murphy, huh? At least my drawing kind of looks like Eddie Murphy. I'm not sure if I've nailed his likeness down yet. So as we zoom out back a little bit, we can kind of see how it's slowly coming together. You might be able to tell the draw or the speed at which I'm drawing is slightly faster than real time. I actually sped it up 1.5 times the speed. So instead of me drawing in real time, which would be 1 time this, 1x, it's 1.5x the speed. Just makes the video a little bit faster, but doesn't sacrifice any of the details that I'm trying to show you guys here. So this video actually was 45 minutes long. The drawing part was about 45 minutes long, and then I shortened it to about 30 minutes. So we basically saved 15 minutes of time by me slightly speeding this up. Hopefully you find that helpful. As you can see, you can still see every single pencil stroke that I'm making, and I can still comfortably talk over what I'm doing. I'm looking at the shadows on the side of the face here. And if you squint your eyes, or at least look closely, you can see there's a few light spots on this shadow side of the face. So I'm trying to just leave those in there a little bit and shade around those spots. So right under the eye and right on the side of the nose, it's a little bit lighter. So you can see I left those there. And that'll all get blended on the next video, but what I do here is I'm just trying to lay in just some basic shadow tones. And I'm going to block in the ear here just to put it up here, make sure it looks like it's in the right area. Looking at where it falls, probably right there about this part of the nose. And that's it. That's all we need to do for the ear. Very basic. So see, during this stage of the drawing, it's still very loose, very rough. You don't have to feel like you're drawing anything. We're just basically putting, we already put down where we think everything's going to go, the mouth, the eyes, the nose. We used our hearts and our eyes to tell us if it feels right or feels wrong. So far this feels right. Again, we have to make some corrections and some adjustments, but overall, we're getting there. And this is where you kind of want to be at this stage of the drawing. So I'm just using the side of my pencil to slowly put in some some charcoal on the paper. Remember, we don't want any part to really be white. You know, the brightest part of his face is going to be the left side on his cheek. So I'm going to leave that a little bit white, but everything else, it's okay to kind of just put some charcoal down, which is kind of what you saw me doing there with those scribbles. Now I have to be careful. I don't want any of my lines too dark. If you have dark lines, it starts looking like a cartoon character, which is kind of what my drawing looks like right now, right? It almost looks like a cartoony character. So you want to keep in mind, don't make your lines too dark. That's why I use a number 4 pencil at this stage. It's easier to kind of erase and soften these lines. If you're going for more of a cartoony style, then keep the lines in there. And that's kind of like right now how it looks very cartoony. But if you want to be more realistic, you want to remember to soften all these lines, which is what we're going to start doing in part 2, the next video after this. You'll see we start removing the cartoon filter and start adding more of a realistic filter. But because we haven't started blending yet, you're going to see these lines are okay right now. When we start blending, it's going to soften all these lines. So be sure to stay tuned for part 2 of this video. Once it's up and online, I'll put a link to it down in the description below, so you can easily go and view that. So let's zoom out a little bit and you can kind of see where we're at and how it's looking. So it looks like I got to bring this collar up just a little bit. Looks like where I had it, he looked a little slouched over. Slunched. Is that a word? Slunched. So again, just looking at the outside shape, not worried about any details. But I'm looking at this distance here from the side of the face to his mouth, and looks like I have to shave that in a little bit. I don't want his face to look too wide, because then he'll start looking like he's got a round head, or a rounder head than the picture. So we'll add a few little details down here for how far down his neck's gonna go. And, you know, I see this little dark area right here, so we're using these as little landmarks, little anchor points. So we know his shirt comes up this direction, and then I could see his neck kind of comes down right in here, comes down, makes this line where there's a dark shadow area. So we're just going to put that dark shadow in here, and that gives us where the shirt's going to end up, right in here. So this is the bottom collar of the shirt. And to know where it comes up at, we're going to finish drawing this side over here. So we see this comes down this way and then comes across. And then I'll probably put the collar in, so maybe just put a little indication of the collar right there. This side, let's figure out where this collar is going to be. And this doesn't have to be that exact, because the clothing's not going to be your main focal point. We're really going to focus on the head, and all this stuff is going to be secondary. In fact, I might put very few details in the finished portrait of this clothing, but I do want to keep sort of it in there. We'll keep the collar and stuff in there. So again, just kind of using our pencil, putting in some of the darker tones here. That way when we start blending on the next video, all this charcoal will already be laid down there. See, it's a little darker in there. Just straighten out this side of the face a little bit. All right. So we're just wrapping this up here. What I'm going to do is we're going to cut away from this picture and we're going to go back to me immediately after I finish this part of the drawing to give you some of my final thoughts on what I'm thinking in this moment and what direction we're going to head for part 2 of this video. So let's do that right now as we finish this up right here. Okay, so I think we're going to finish this up right here. This is me now back talking live. And usually what I do when I finish a drawing or when I finish a drawing session, because we're approaching a little over maybe 40 minutes or so, or a little less, I like to just get a game plan for what I'm going to do on my next time I sit down and draw this or, work on this. So here's some of the things I'm looking at. I'm happy with the layout. I'm happy with the size. I want to try and look at what might need to change before we start blending and adjusting. And from what I can see, I think maybe this side of the face needs to come in just a little bit. And I'll show you an example. So what I'll do is I'll see what is the width of maybe the mouth. Because this, you can see his face narrows down, right, on the picture. So I'll look and I'll take a measurement of like the width of his face right here, and you can see where I have it. This is about the width of the face at the lips. And if I turn it vertical and I do another point, like let's say the bottom of the lips, look where that comes up on my picture. It comes up right on top of where I have the eyebrows. But if you look at it on the reference picture, if we take a sideways of the reference picture and we rotate it up, it's way lower. It's probably down to the bottom of the eyebrows. So that tells me if I take that measurement, this is what it should be. It should be, the width should be about this distance. And I take a measurement roughly about here, you could see how short I am. So I need to either shave in this side or shave in this side. Now look at how close I have this right here to the reference picture. I don't want to come in any closer than this. This looks fine. So that tells me that I'm going to have to probably bring this in on this side to about here. And so we'll have to slowly adjust maybe this angle here and just shave in that face a little bit. So it's things like that where I'll look at and see, certain things. Like I'll take a vertical, where does the eye start in relation to the corner of the nose? And I'll compare that to the reference picture. And this eye might have to come in just a little hair. This eye might have to shrink up just a little bit. It looks like I might have made this eye just slightly too wide. I'm not sure. But see, these are all things that I do going forward. I stop right here. I never draw more than about 40 minutes to an hour in one sitting session. So since I'm going to call this the end of the sitting session, I'm just going to take a moment, see what needs to change, and then when we begin the next video, we'll start maybe making these changes, and then we'll start blending, and we'll go the next phase of this drawing, blending it down, making it more smooth, and we will continue from there. So thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Please check out the other videos that you see on the screen here, and if you have any questions, comments, just go ahead and leave me a comment below and I will respond to you, and I really thank you for watching. See you next video, coming soon.